You know this feeling, don't you? It's a quiet, soul-chilling recognition that doesn't come right away. At first, there is always hope. A new person, a new gaze, a new melody that seems about to begin. You believe that this time the script will be different. The scenery has changed, the light is set differently, and the partner. He seems so unlike all the previous ones. But weeks pass, months. And then, in one casual phrase, in one inexplicable act, in one sudden chill between you, you hear it, the echo of an old forgotten melody, the very one that played in the finale of your past stories. And a thought pierces you, sharp as a shard of glass. I've been here before. I know this pain. I know this plot twist. It starts as a whisper and turns into a deafening scream inside. Why is this happening to me again? Why, despite all my efforts, all my awareness, do I end up in the same place again? It's like watching the same play, but with new actors. The words may differ a bit, the costumes may be different, but the dramaturgy, the emotional backbone, and most frightening of all, the ending remain unchanged. It's a feeling of devastating helplessness, as if you are a character desperately trying to change your fate, not realizing that your lines and actions were long ago written by someone else. You start to doubt yourself, your ability to choose, your worth. And the scariest question you ask yourself in the silence, maybe it's me? Maybe I'm doomed to this eternal repeat. If you recognized yourself in this description, I want you to listen to me very carefully now. You are not going crazy, and this is not just bad luck or bad karma. What you feel, this tormenting cycle, this sense of déjà vu in the labyrinth of love, is not a series of tragic coincidences. It is proof that a powerful, consistent, and absolutely real psychological mechanism is operating within you. You are not alone. Millions of men and women at this very second are living out this exact same script. They walk the same closed circle, blaming themselves, their partners, fate, but never finding the true source of their pain. They don't understand that an invisible force inside them governs their choices, their reactions, their feelings. So let me ask you one question, a question that may seem strange but is the key to everything. What if your choice of partner is not actually yours? What if an image lives inside you, an inner double, who makes that choice for you, based on motives of its own that are hidden from you? What if it is precisely this double who writes the script of your drama? Your choice is actually not made by your soul. This video is not just a set of relationship tips. It is a map of your inner world. It is an invitation to a journey. We will go deep into your soul to meet this inner director. We will give it a name, understand its language, and most importantly, learn to distinguish its voice from your own. This is the key to stopping unconscious self-sabotage and finally beginning to build the relationships you truly deserve, the kind your soul deserves. When we face repeated failures in love, our consciousness desperately seeks a simple and logical explanation. It's a self-defense mechanism. We need an enemy to name, a problem to solve. And we find these explanations on the surface in the world of obvious causes and effects. Let's look more closely at these misconceptions, because they are what keep us captive to illusions. The most common one, I just have bad luck with partners. This phrase sounds like a statement of fact, like surrender in the face of cruel fate. We convince ourselves that the world is a lottery and we keep drawing losing tickets. All the good ones are taken. There are only immature men around, or all women are mercenary. It's a convenient position because it turns us into passive victims of circumstances. But let's be honest, it's not just bad luck. As I have seen over years of practice, there is a kind of psychological gravity operating in the psyche. Just as a planet with immense mass attracts objects, our inner unconscious structure attracts certain people and certain situations into our lives. We don't just randomly meet these people. We unconsciously recognize them in a crowd. In their eyes, words, behavior, our soul sees a familiar pattern needed to replay the old drama. To think it's coincidence is to ignore the most powerful forces operating beneath the surface of our consciousness. The choice of partner is one of the least random acts in our lives, even if it seems otherwise to us. Another popular misconception, subtler. The problem is incompatible personalities. We arm ourselves with personality tests, astrological charts, sociotypes. We break relationships down to atoms. He's an extrovert, I'm an introvert. We have different values. We see financial matters differently. And while compatibility is certainly important, this explanation doesn't answer the main, tormenting question: why are we so irresistibly, so irrationally drawn to people with whom we are obviously incompatible? Why does a smart, strong woman fall in love again and again with an unreliable, creative genius? Why does a kind, caring man repeatedly choose cold and demanding ice queens? The answer is that the unconscious does not seek comfort, it seeks wholeness. And to achieve it, it often chooses a partner who carries the qualities we have suppressed or failed to develop in ourselves, our shadow. We are drawn to the incompatible person because they represent a missing fragment of our own soul. And the psyche naively believes that by uniting with them, we will become whole. But that path leads only to conflict, because we try to obtain from the outside what we must find within. And finally, the most insidious misconception that modern self-help culture slips us: you need to work on yourself more. By this is usually meant what can be called horizontal growth. Learn a new language, get a promotion, get your body in shape, develop new hobbies. All of this is wonderful and useful, but it doesn't solve the root problem. It's like polishing to a shine the body of a car with a broken engine. The car will look great but won't get far. Real change requires vertical growth, diving deeper rather than expanding outward. It's work with childhood wounds, with shadow aspects, with unconscious complexes. It requires not willpower, but incredible courage to be honest with yourself. As long as we are engaged only in horizontal self-improvement, we simply create a more attractive facade for the same inner drama, and a new, more high-quality partner will only be a more skillful actor in the same old play. Let's go deeper into the central metaphor of this section: your failed relationships, your repeating scripts. These are not a disease. They are a fever, a symptom loudly and desperately signaling an inflammatory process going on deep within your psyche. Imagine a person who constantly suffers from a high temperature. He goes to the pharmacy and buys a fever reducer. The temperature drops, he feels relief, returns to his affairs. But after a few hours or days, the fever returns, perhaps even stronger. He takes the pill again. And so, week after week, he starts getting angry at the pills. They don't work. At his body, it's so weak. At the weather, it's all because of drafts. He does everything except one. He doesn't ask the main question: why do I have a fever? He doesn't look for the source of the infection that is poisoning him from within. This is an exact analogy of how we handle our relationships. The breakup is the fever spike. We treat it by finding a new partner. That is our fever reducer. A period of relief comes, the honeymoon. But the inner infection, our unconscious complex, our trauma, has not gone anywhere. And it begins to poison the organism of the new relationship again. The first symptoms appear: irritation, jealousy, misunderstanding. The fever rises, and it all ends in yet another crisis. Let's use another metaphor, no less powerful. Your recurring relationship problems are the warning light on your car's dashboard. It lights up to warn you of an engine malfunction. What does a wise driver do? He goes to the shop and gets a diagnostic. He looks under the hood. What does an unwise driver do? He tries to ignore the light. He covers it with black tape so it doesn't annoy him. He bangs on the dashboard hoping it will go out. He complains that manufacturers make low-quality cars with stupid warning lights. But the engine problem isn't solved by that. And one day the car just stops in the middle of the road. Changing partners without looking inside yourself is exactly like taping over the warning light. Looking under the hood in our context means exploring your patterns. What exactly is your engine? It's your childhood relationships with your parents. It's repressed emotions. It's beliefs about yourself and the world that you absorbed at an early age. Symptoms such as the well-known push-pull dynamic, the panicked fear of being abandoned that makes you cling to a partner, or its opposite, the fear of being engulfed that makes you flee intimacy. These are not personality quirks. They are signals of a deep malfunction in how your psyche forms attachment. Until we run this inner diagnostic, we will be doomed to end up over and over on the shoulder of life with a broken heart. And to begin this diagnostic right now, I will ask you to do one thing. This is not just an exercise. It is the first act of true courage on the path to yourself. If necessary, pause this video and sit in silence for a few minutes. Take a sheet of paper or just close your eyes. Be brutally honest with yourself. We will not analyze. We will feel. Let's conduct a small archaeological dig into your emotional history. Step 1. Find the emotional signature. Recall your past significant relationships, not just the last ones, but all those that left a deep mark. Rewind them in your memory to the very end, to the moment of breakup or emotional estrangement. Now discard all the details, all the who was right, who was wrong. Focus on the pure feeling that remained afterward. What was its essence? Was it a sharp, piercing sense of abandonment? The feeling that you were betrayed, a knife in the back? Or perhaps it was a feeling of suffocation, relief that you finally broke free? Or a bitter feeling that you were not understood, not appreciated for your true worth? Or maybe an icy realization that you were next to a completely foreign person? Find that key feeling. Every repeating drama has its emotional signature. Name it. Step 2. Identify the partner archetype. Now let's look at those with whom you lived out this feeling. Again, discard the outer details. Look at their inner role in your play. What type of person unfailingly attracts you like a moth to flame? Perhaps it's the broken bird who must constantly be rescued and fixed but can never take flight? Or the distant genius, forever absorbed in grand pursuits, whose attention and love must be earned by crumbs? Maybe it's the chaotic artist, a life full of passion and drama but devoid of any stability and safety? Or the reliable but boring caretaker, who offers safety, but next to whom you feel dead? Identify this repeating archetype. It is the key to understanding which role your unconscious is trying to play. Step 3. Recall the breakup dialogue. And now the most important thing, recall the words. Those very words you spoke or heard addressed to you at the most critical moments. Phrases like, "You never listened to me," "You always ruin everything," "I can't rely on you," "I need more freedom." Did you often find that in the heat of an argument, you argued with a voice that felt alien to you? Speaking arguments you didn't fully believe in, but which burst out with irresistible force, like a memorized role? Did you feel like an actor who suddenly forgot he is on stage and fully merged with the role of prosecutor, victim, tyrant? If so, you have just heard a line written by your inner director. This script was created long before your current relationship. If you did this exercise, you probably feel discomfort. You touch something real, a pattern that has a life of its own. And here, standard psychology often throws up its hands and offers only behavior correction. But we will go deeper. At the beginning of the 20th century, when the world of psychology was fascinated by Freud's ideas of repressed childhood desires and libido, the Swiss psychiatrist Carl Gustav Jung proposed a far more radical and majestic map of the human soul. He was not just a physician, he was an archaeologist of the soul. He understood that beneath the thin layer of our personal biography, our memories and traumas, what he called the personal unconscious, lies something much more ancient and powerful. Imagine an archaeologist excavating an ancient city. On the upper layer, he finds artifacts from the 19th century, deeper remains of a medieval fortress, deeper still, the foundation of a Roman villa. And beneath all this, the traces of a Bronze Age settlement. Jung did the same with the psyche. He realized that beneath our personal problems, the medieval fortress, and Freudian complexes, the Roman villa, lies the deepest layer, the foundation of humanity. He called it the collective unconscious. It is a storehouse of experience, images, and behavior patterns common to all people, accumulated over millions of years of evolution. It is the psychic heritage of humanity. And it consists not of memories but of archetypes, the primordial blueprints or programs by which our psychic life is built. The hero archetype, which drives us to seek adventure and overcome obstacles. The mother archetype, which shapes our need for care and nourishment. the shadow archetype, where we hide everything we do not accept in ourselves. And among these powerful figures, Jung singled out two that are the key to the mystery of attraction between the sexes and the source of our greatest joys and deepest sufferings in love. These are figures that shape our perception of the opposite sex and control our romantic impulses like invisible puppeteers. He called them anima, the inner image of a woman and a man, and animus, the inner image of a man and a woman. Jung understood that our relationships with real people are only a reflection of our relationships with these inner, archetypal images. And as long as this inner world is not conscious, as long as we have not met these figures face to face, our outer world will turn into a battlefield where we are doomed to lose the same battle over and over again. It's time to turn on the light in this inner theater. To understand why your personal life follows the same script, we must get to know these two secret inhabitants of our soul, and not just meet them, but understand their nature, their language, and their path of development. Let's give them clear definitions. Anima, from Latin soul. According to Jung, this is the inner, unconscious feminine side in a man's psyche. It is not just a set of feminine traits. The anima is a full-fledged autonomous complex, a living inner image of a woman that every man carries within. This image is formed first by his personal experience. First and foremost, the image of his mother. Her love or its absence, her strength or her weakness, all of this becomes the foundation of his anima. And second, it carries features of all women who have ever lived: Eve, Helen of Troy, the Virgin Mary, Sophia, wisdom. It is his connection to the collective feminine principle, symmetrically animus, from Latin spirit. This is the inner, unconscious, masculine side in a woman's psyche. And again, it's not just masculine traits, it is a living inner image of a man, formed by her experience with her father, his presence or absence, his authority or his infantilism. And just like the anima, the animus is connected to the collective masculine spirit, to the image of the warrior, the sage, the father, the creator. And here is what is critically important to understand. These figures are not static. They can develop and mature along with us. Jung described 4 stages of development for each of them. It is precisely getting stuck at primitive, early stages that gives rise to the very sabotage that destroys your life. Stages of anima development in a man. First, Eve. The first, purely instinctual stage. A woman is perceived as an object connected with nature, birth, nourishment. In its negative shadow form, a man with an Eve anima seeks in a woman not a partner, but a mother. He demands unconditional care and flies into a rage if his needs are not met instantly. Second, Helen. The second stage, named after Helen of Troy. A woman is perceived as an aesthetic and sexual object of desire, a romantic ideal. Here, the most poisonous form of the negative anima is born. A man projects onto a real woman this divine, unattainable image. But no woman can remain on a pedestal forever. And when she inevitably shows her human traits, his anima becomes capricious, jealous, vengeful, whispering poisonous thoughts that he has been betrayed. Third, Mary. The third stage of spiritual love. A woman is perceived as the Virgin Mary, capable of deep, pure love and compassion. Relationships become deep and meaningful. Fourth, Sophia, the highest stage of wisdom. A woman becomes a guide to meaning. This is a fully integrated anima that is no longer projected outward, but becomes a source of inner wisdom. Stages of animus development in a woman. First, Tarzan. The first stage, pure physical strength. A man is perceived as an athlete, an action hero. In its negative aspect, this is an unconscious pull toward crude, sometimes cruel force, toward bad boys. Second, Byron. The second stage, the romantic hero. A man is a poet, an adventurer. The trap here is that a woman becomes addicted to drama and intensity, unconsciously choosing charismatic but emotionally unstable and unreliable men. Third, Lloyd George. The third stage, the bearer of the word. A man is a professor, a politician, an authority. And here is the most common and poisonous form of the negative animus. He turns into a set of rigid, indisputable opinions. This is an inner tyrant who constantly criticizes a woman, devalues her feelings, and forces her to project this image onto men, choosing partners who will lecture and control her. Fourth, Hermes, the highest stage, the guide of spirit. The animus becomes the source of her own creativity and meaning. Most of us get stuck at the first two stages, and it is from there that the negative anima and negative animus sprout. And it is precisely these immature, shadowy aspects that we project onto our partners. So that these concepts stop being just theory, let's see how they breathe, act, and ruin lives in two specific yet composite stories. I want you to listen to them not with your mind, but with your heart. Try to feel whether the echo of these dramas resounds in you. Alexei's story, negative anima. Imagine a man, Alexei. Outwardly, he is successful, intelligent, but his anima is stuck somewhere between the Eve and Helen stages. For him, a woman is either an object that must satisfy his needs, Eve, or a beautiful romantic ideal that must adorn his life, Helen. He is magnetically drawn to emotionally unavailable, mysterious women because it is easiest to project his ideal image onto them. At the beginning of a relationship, he is euphoric. He sees a goddess, a muse, in his chosen one. He showers her with compliments, gives gifts. This is his anima in the Helen stage projecting in all its power. But a real woman cannot remain on a pedestal forever. She has bad moods, her own problems, her own desires that don't always align with his. And at this moment, his anima regresses to Eve in its most negative, infantile aspect. He becomes incredibly capricious. His inner monologue sounds like this. I gave her the whole world and she didn't smile at me this morning. She doesn't love me. She's ungrateful. He demands constant confirmation of love, like a child demands a mother's breast. He stages excruciating jealousy scenes if she goes out with friends, because in his Eve world, the mother cannot belong to anyone but the child. His partner finds herself in a trap. She must be both an unattainable goddess and an all-forgiving mommy at once. This is an impossible task. She leaves, exhausted. And Alexei remains alone with a deep sense that he has been betrayed again, that all women are the same. He doesn't understand that he himself destroyed everything by demanding that a living person be a container for his immature, split anima. Elena's story, negative animus. Now imagine a woman, Elena. She is strong, independent. Her animus is stuck at the third stage, Lloyd George, in its most negative manifestation. He has not become a wise advisor, but has turned into a committee of indisputable cold opinions. Her inner world is filled with his voice. Men are unreliable. You must always have a plan B. Emotions are weakness. I'm right because I read it in an authoritative source. She meets a good, kind man. At first, everything goes smoothly because she projects the positive aspect of her animus onto him. She sees in him a man of action, a reliable partner. But as soon as they encounter the first life difficulty or disagreement, her negative animus seizes power. The man offers a solution, and her inner voice immediately says, "That's stupid. My plan is better." She starts criticizing his solutions, disputing his every opinion, turning an ordinary conversation into a court hearing where she is the prosecutor. She unconsciously competes with him because her animus perceives any man as a rival for being right. She looks for a catch in his words, expects betrayal, because her inner committee has already delivered a guilty verdict. The man, constantly under fire of criticism and distrust, either leaves, tired of the struggle, or worse, becomes passive and without initiative because any initiative is punished. And Elena is left alone with the bitter sense of her animus's correctness. I knew it. They can't be relied on. She does not see that she did not give him a single chance to show his best qualities because her inner tyrant had already defined him as incompetent. Do you recognize Alexei or Elena in yourself, in your partners? That inner voice that criticizes, devalues, demands the impossible, stirs up drama out of nothing. This is the voice of the negative anima or the negative animus. Let's use one more metaphor to understand the mechanism of this sabotage. Imagine that there is a powerful magnet inside you. This magnet is your anima or your animus. Its polarity, its settings, were calibrated in your early childhood by your relationships with your parents and your first significant experiences. This magnet does not attract what is good for you from the standpoint of consciousness. It attracts what is familiar to your unconscious. It attracts the metal that perfectly matches the completion of an old, unfinished chemical reaction. When you meet a person and feel that irresistible, irrational pull, love at first sight, it is not your conscious eye falling in love. It is your inner magnet with a thunderous click finding its counterpole. Your complex recognizes in the other person the perfect candidate for the role in your inner drama. If your anima carries a wound of rejection, your magnet will unerringly find among men those inclined to emotional unavailability. If your animus carries a charge of struggle with the father figure, your magnet will draw a man you can control or endlessly compete with. And here the most tragic projection trick occurs. In the first months of a relationship, you do not see the real person. You see your own soul projected onto them. A man looking at a woman is actually in love with his own beautiful anima. A woman admiring a man is actually admiring her own powerful animus. It is a beautiful but illusory state, and then real life begins. The person opposite turns out to be just a person. He has flaws, habits that annoy you, his own opinion. And at this moment, the projection cracks at the seams, and you make a fatal mistake. You begin to be angry at the screen for showing the wrong movie that your inner projector is running. You try by force to make the real person conform to your inner image. And when that fails, you deliver the verdict. This is not the one. And you set off to find a new, better screen for your old movie. Grasp this key thought. You are not choosing a partner. Your unconscious part is choosing an actor for an already written role. And until you rewrite the script, the play will repeat endlessly. And now I want to ask you another deeper question. Try to answer it as honestly as possible. We have already spoken about the myth. Now let's call it the credo, the set of unwritten laws by which your inner image lives. What credo about the opposite sex lives inside you? What tacit but absolute belief defines your relationships? Let me give a few examples to help you hear it. Examples of the credo of the negative animus in women. Never show your weakness to men or they will use it. If I don't control everything, everything will fall apart. A real man must solve all my problems without my prompts. All men eventually disappoint. My opinions and beliefs matter more than his feelings. Examples of the credo of the negative anima in men. A real woman should sense my desires without words. If a woman criticizes me, it means she doesn't love me. I am incomplete without a woman who takes care of me. Women are irrational, and their emotions are dangerous. My main task is to win her over. What comes next doesn't matter. Try to hear this voice right now. Catch this thought by the tail. Which of these credos, or something very similar to it, is the law in your inner universe? Now take the next step. Ask yourself, where did this law come from? Whose voice is it really? Is it your mother's voice, who was disappointed in men and transmitted her credo to you? Is it your father's voice, who was cold and authoritarian, and you developed this credo as protection? Or perhaps it's a conclusion you drew after your first most painful breakup, which turned from a defense mechanism into a prison? Write in the comments which credo you discovered in yourself. Not for us, but for yourself. This is not a confession. This is an act of objectification. When you bring a thought from inside to the outside, you cease to be it and become the one who looks at it. This is the first act of magic on the path to liberation. You will see, reading other comments, that you are not alone in this inner struggle. This courage is the first step toward declaring to your inner tyrant that his laws are no longer absolute. So we have met our inner saboteur. We have given it a name, anima or animus. And now the great temptation is to declare war on it. To start fighting it, suppressing it, trying to expel it from your soul. But that would be the same mistake, just on a new level. Fighting the shadow only makes it stronger. The Jungian path is not the path of struggle. It is the path of integration. And the first step on this path is a complete shift of paradigm. You need to stop seeing the negative manifestations of the anima or animus as your enemy. In fact, this is your most faithful, albeit very harsh teacher. Your pain in relationships is neither a curse nor punishment. It is a call. It is your soul's navigation system. Imagine that you are driving along the road of life and your goal is wholeness, or as Jung said, individuation. Each time you take a wrong turn, the warning light of pain lights up on the dashboard. The further you drive from your true path, the brighter and more tormenting that light burns. The negative anima animus is this warning system. It is not trying to torment you. It is desperately trying to guide you back on course. Moreover, the type of problems your inner image creates is not random. It points precisely to the area of your life that requires development. It points to your main psychological task. If you are constantly drawn to emotionally unavailable partners, your task is to learn to give emotional support to yourself, to become your own inner mother. If you constantly choose weak and dependent partners, your task is to find and develop your own inner strength, your inner father. If you drown in chaos and drama, your task is to build inner structure and order. In alchemy, which Jung considered a metaphor for the process of individuation, there was a term, prima materia. It was a chaotic, dark, often poisonous substance with which the work began. But the alchemists believed that this repulsive mass concealed gold, the philosopher's stone. Your painful repeating relationships are your prima materia. This is the chaos that contains the potential for the greatest transformation. Your negative anima animus is not an enemy. It is a guardian who protects your greatest treasure, your wholeness. And it will let you pass only when you stop fighting it and start listening to it. This brings us to the second key principle. The solution to your problem lies not in external struggle, but in inner work. Stop looking for the right person in the outer world. Begin a dialogue with the wrong image inside yourself. As long as you project your anima or animus onto your partner, you are doomed to disappointment. You demand from a living person that they heal your inner wound. But that is impossible. It is like demanding that a mirror change your face. Real work begins the moment you withdraw the projection. This is a courageous, almost heroic act, which consists in acknowledging that the capriciousness, the idealism, the rigidity, or the cynicism that you so hate in your partner or in your exes are in fact qualities of your own inner figure. Let's picture this clearly. Your anima animus is the movie projector in your head. It constantly plays the same film based on your traumas and complexes. Your partner is just a white screen. Withdrawing the projection means turning the projector away from the screen onto the inner wall of your soul and starting to watch this movie yourself. What does this look like in practice? When you feel an irresistible urge to accuse your partner, "You don't value me at all," stop. Take a breath, turn the projector around, ask yourself, which part of me doesn't value me? In what ways do I devalue myself? You may find that this is the voice of your inner critic, which you simply heard from your partner's lips. When you are overwhelmed with rage at his sheer irresponsibility, stop. Turn the projector. Where am I being irresponsible toward my own life, my talents, my dreams? We often hate in others the shadow trait we do not allow ourselves. When you are hurt by his or coldness, stop. Projector inward. Which part of myself do I treat coldly and indifferently? Which inner child have I neglected? Each time you perform this maneuver, a miracle happens. You cease to be a victim of external circumstances and become an explorer of your inner world. You take your power back from your partner and return it to yourself. This is incredibly hard because blaming another is much easier. But only this path leads to freedom. You no longer need your partner to change because you begin to change the only person you truly can yourself. And then either your current relationship transforms beyond recognition or you calmly and without drama leave it to build a new one, based not on projection but on reality. I will not give you 5 simple steps to perfect relationships. Such superficiality would only reinforce your old misconceptions. Instead, I will offer you 3 new inner attitudes, 3 practices you can start applying today. These are not tools to fix yourself. They are ways to establish contact with your soul. Observation, the practice of the impartial witness. Begin to relate to your thoughts and moods like to the weather. They come and go. They are not you. When a sudden wave of irritation at your partner, or suffocating jealousy, or icy gloom comes over you, do not identify with it. Instead of saying, I am furious, and say to yourself, aha, here comes the cloud of fury. Give this state a name connected to your inner image. For example, oh, my drama queen anima is back on stage. Or, okay, my all-knowing professor Animus is speaking. By personifying these states, you create a gap, a space between your conscious I and your complex. In this space, freedom of choice is born. You are no longer a marionette jerking automatically at the strings. You are the observer who sees the strings. This is the first and most important step toward liberation. Dialogue, the practice of active imagination. When you've recognized the voice of the anima or animus, what then? Jung proposed a brilliant technique for this active imagination. This is not mere fantasizing. It is a conscious dialogue with parts of your personality. Set aside 15, 20 minutes when no one will disturb you. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and mentally invite this image, your capricious anima or criticizing animus, to a meeting. Picture it before you. What does it look like? What is it wearing? What expression is on its face? Then begin a dialogue. You can do this in your mind or, even more effectively, record it in a journal like a play. I see you're angry at my partner again. What do you really want? Animus, he's a weakling. He messed it up again. I understand that's what you think, but what are you afraid of? What will happen if he does it his way? Animus, we'll lose control. Everything will collapse. We'll be humiliated. By continuing such a dialogue without judgment, you will begin to understand the motives and fears behind the destructive behavior. You will learn that your inner tyrant is actually a frightened child desperately trying to protect you. This is the beginning of self-compassion and transformation. Integration, the practice of small steps. Awareness without action is barren. Integration happens when you transfer new knowledge from the inner world into the outer. This does not mean making drastic life changes. Start with small, symbolic steps. If you are a woman with a criticizing animus who insists no one can be trusted, take a micro step. Consciously entrust your partner to make some minor decision, for example, choosing a movie to watch, and accept his choice without criticism, even if you don't like it. If you are a man with a capricious anima that demands constant attention, take a micro step. When you feel a surge of hurt, don't pour it onto your partner. Go for a 10-minute walk alone to process the feeling yourself without demanding that she rescue you. If your animus devalues feelings, take a step. Next time your partner shares her struggles, consciously refrain from giving advice and simply say, I hear you. That must have been very hard. Each such small step is an act of reprogramming your nervous system. You prove to your unconscious that the old destructive patterns are no longer the only possible ones. You build a new bridge between your inner and outer worlds. I want you to understand, the integration of anima and animus is not a sprint, it is a marathon. It is the work of a lifetime. It is what Jung called the great work. There will be setbacks, moments when you get hooked by old projections again. That's okay. It's part of the path. Progress here is measured not by the absence of falls, but by the speed with which you realize you've fallen and the ability to rise without self-flagellation. This path can be compared to the hero's journey written about in the myths of the world. But in the 21st century, the dragons we must defeat live not in external caves, but in the depths of our own psyche. Your unconscious complex is precisely the dragon guarding the treasure. And the treasure is your wholeness, your capacity for genuine love. The very fact that you are watching this video, that you have come to this point, that these complex concepts resonate in your soul, is irrefutable evidence that you are ready for this work. The psyche never shows us a problem if it does not have the potential for its solution. Your pain is not a sign of your weakness. It is a sign that your soul has matured for the next level of development. It knocks at the door of your consciousness, demanding attention. Imagine your soul as a self-healing organism. When you get a splinter, inflammation begins around it. It is painful, unpleasant, but its purpose is to expel the foreign body and heal the wound. Your painful relationships are the same psychological inflammation around the splinter of an old trauma or an unintegrated complex. Your suffering is not pathology, it is a sign of health. It is a sign that your inner immune system is working and the healing process has already begun. And I want to tell you, with full responsibility, all the strength, all the wisdom, all the courage necessary for this path are already within you. They are embedded in you as archetypal potential. You don't need to add anything to yourself. You only need to remove what prevents this light from shining. You are both the hero and the dragon and the treasure at once. It's time to begin your great journey. So let's gather all the threads of our journey into one. The one who sabotaged your personal life is not an evil spirit, not a curse, and not cruel fate. It is your own unacknowledged, misunderstood part of the soul. Your inner other, who was desperately trying to be heard. The negative anima or negative animus is not absolute evil. It is only the shadow cast by the light of your unrealized wholeness. A shadow seems big and scary only when the source of light is behind you and you look only at it. Your task is not to fight the shadow, it's useless. Your task is to turn toward the light of your consciousness, your self-knowledge, your self-compassion, and then the shadow will take its proper place behind you. It will not disappear, but it will cease to run your life. The choice was not made by your soul, but by its immature, wounded part. Now that you have met it, you can take the pen from this inner director and begin to write your own conscious script of love. And now for a moment, imagine a relationship built not on projection, but on reality. Imagine intimacy where you can see your partner as they are, with all their strengths and flaws, and not as a screen for your inner movie. Imagine love where you can be yourself, without fear of being rejected for not matching some ideal. Imagine conflict that is not a reason to break up, but an invitation to a deeper understanding of yourself and each other. This is not a fairy tale and not a utopia. It is the natural result of conscious inner work. It is what happens when you heal your inner images. It is what Carl Jung called the sacred marriage, the union of consciousness and the unconscious within your own soul, which makes possible a genuine, healthy union with another person. Your outer love becomes a reflection of your inner world. We have traveled a long and sometimes difficult path. We have descended together into the dark basements of the psyche, looked our inner demons in the face, and sought the path to the light. And before we part, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, not just for your time, but for your courage, for your willingness to listen, to feel, and most importantly, to look within. To understand what we talked about today is not just to absorb information. It means being part of a special, invisible community, a community of people no longer satisfied with superficial answers and quick fixes, a community of seekers who intuitively feel that behind the repeating pain of their lives lies deep meaning and a great task. In a world obsessed with speed and simplicity, choosing depth is an act of courage. You could have watched hundreds of other videos with tips on how to fix your personal life. But you're here. You watched to this moment. It says a lot about you. It says that your soul longs not for comfort, but for authenticity. Know that at this very moment, thousands of people, just like you, are walking their own hero's path. They are asking the same questions, fighting the same dragons. You are not alone on this path. Our journey today is coming to an end, but the real work, your inner work, is only beginning. It is a lifelong path, and on it both support and guides matter. If what we talked about today resonated in your soul, if you felt that your language is spoken here, I invite you to continue this exploration of the depths together. Subscribe to this channel so you don't miss our next expeditions into the world of archetypes, shadows, and treasures hidden in the unconscious. This is not just a button. It is your intention to keep going. And if this journey was valuable to you, if it shed even one ray of light on the dark corners of your story, please like this video. In the world of algorithms, every like is not just an evaluation. It is a signal. a signal that will help this light reach other seekers. Those who right now are sitting in the dark, experiencing the same pain and asking the same questions, not knowing where to find the answer. Your simple gesture may become someone's beginning of their own path to healing. Thank you again for your trust and your depth. It has been an honor to be your guide today. See you on the path to yourself.